If we go to return on equity, which you think is the better figure, 25%, you say it's twice what the bank's is, but what's high? How do we measure it? What's high compared to the rest of the world? Because there's the vibe and we go, geez, these supermarkets are no good, but we have to sort of justify it, don't we? So is 25% high? Why is it high if so?
If you go to the markets, the market will decide. I noticed the stock price of Woolworths fell 1% while they were in the hearings today, so that's not great. They will work that. The job of a business is to make money and return to its investors. The job of a parliament is to make sure that's done in a way that's good for the rest of the community. And we're looking at, are the returns too big? Are they using their power to hurt consumers and to hurt producers? And that's what we've got to stop.
And so when we say too big, again, what's the measurement? Is there a similar market around the world where we can go, oh, look, it's only 20% there, bring it down 5%?
There's not, because Australia has the highest concentration of the big two in supermarkets with 2/3 of the market. We are the poster boy for what you don't want to be.
But what about a similar size? I mean, can you go to Canada, for example, and say, yes, you've got a better market. Does it mean lower ROE and better for consumers?
Yes, it does normally.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Yes, it does mean slightly lower. But again, it's not just what the final number you end up with. If you're spending money prior to the profit line to maintain dominance, that is a bad thing.
On things such as buying up land, you're saying, which I said, as I said, there are laws for already. Then we get to what the Nationals in particular have spoken about what they want to do. I'm not quite sure the Liberals are on the same page. Perhaps you can confirm for me. Divestment powers.
Yep.
What is the Coalition's policy on divestment?
Don't know what the Coalition policy is yet. I'm sure we'll find out in joint party room in due course, but the Nationals have a strong support for divestiture.
Yeah.
And
we have to come at what you can't just have your total own policy here. If you're going to form the alternative government, you've got to come up with something you both agree on.
And that's our job, to work in our room with our friends and phone a friend in the Liberal Party and convince them it is a good idea and come and join us with the Nats. And it won't be just divestiture, that's a nuclear option. You'd never want to hit that button, but you want it there in case people do. What you want is a whole lot of steps along the way, the tripwires, that if people ignore them, hit the button.
So a lot of people say it's not workable though, because if you have to sell off somewhere, you sell off the least profitable one. Maybe no one even buys it. And the actual result is, dare I say it, a small regional community suddenly doesn't have a supermarket. So are you convinced? Is it just an option? Are you convinced it's workable?
No, I'm convinced it's workable. And the devil is always in the detail. And we can be intellectually lazy and say, these are the problems, or we can do some work and say, this is the way you avoid making the regional ones sell off. You can do them where
so you would say to a supermarket, you sell this store. That seems a bit...
Well, you can't. There could be interim steps where you can only have 2 stores or 3 stores or a number of stores within a certain radius. Because that's what we're seeing is this conglomeration. The one in Milton, Queensland, where they bought the entire real estate building to kick out a tenant, an individual tenant, they already had 3 stores within 15 minutes of that. It's just that sort of stuff that we can do.
Okay. The final thing I'll give you is, we've heard today from Brad Banducci, what he's claimed is, even if Woolworths made 0 profit, so they were just there for the good of the country, which you wouldn't expect them to do, but let's take the hypothetical, it would save $5 a week for a family. If that's true, should we be careful about how much this is actually going to result in? I mean, are the savings going to be pretty limited, even if, we're going to increase profitability, competition, I should say? We're talking about a few percent in the difference.
But that comes down to that number that Woolworths and Coles want you here again, that 2 to 3% number. That's what they're talking about for their $5. What about all the extra percent they're spending to maintain dominance and push the rest of the market down?
So you think the $5 figure would be better if it was a sort of holistic tearing up of the competition rather than just...
It would clearly be higher, and we're trying to get the numbers to help us know that. These guys don't want to give us the numbers.